this week at Warner Brothers Movie World. What appears to be track has appeared behind the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster building. What could it mean? Are we getting closer to the opening? Is it going to happen sooner than we think? Let's find out and more in this episode of the Yum Yum Report. Welcome back to the Yum Yum Report, bringing you bite-sized updates from Australian theme parks, as well as occasional updates from theme parks around the world. Before we start, I'd like to give a quick thank you to my channel members for supporting my content. Thank you so much. This week we popped into Movie World, mainly for a quick visit to check the progress on the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster, see how things are going with the DC Supervillains Unleashed area, and also just to have a little check-in on the new Wizard of OZ Precinct, which has been open for a few months now. It is coming up to the Easter holidays, I believe, and the park was fairly busy. It was a nice atmosphere and I enjoyed watching the parade. It's always great to see a bit of a crowd gathered around, and there didn't appear to be any changes to the parade. I think they've been using the same music now for a couple of years. I would love to see some changes made to this to freshen it up and make it a little bit more interesting, because the performers are all so talented, so gifted. I'd love to see them be able to shine even more than they already are. And this could be upgrades to the floats, maybe slight changes in who appears when and how they interact. Yeah, I'd love to see some updates to this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments your opinions on the parade. Do you think it's good as it is, or would you like to see some upgrades? And if so, what would you like to see changed? Let's start a little discussion. So starting off with the more interesting news this week, as I mentioned, the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster is set to open again in 2025, and I have made a separate video on my channel discussing this and kind of some ideas about what the new additions could look like, what the changes will be. So make sure you go and check that out. It was a lot of fun and I read out lots of people's thoughts and comments. Find the link for that in the description. But this week we noticed in the Wizard of Oz area that behind the Kansas Twister Q building and behind the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster show building, there appeared to be what looks like some pieces of track. And I'm coaster illiterate. I don't know exactly what these pieces are, but to me this looks like possibly part of the switch track, which I believe is what they use to put on and take off trains from the track. So I don't know what it could be doing sitting out here. Is this a new piece of track? Is it an old piece of track? Are they just getting rid of it? Are they switching it around? Who knows? It's hard to tell. I've kind of complained in the past about being able to see all the back of house stuff at Movie World, but in this instance it's actually been interesting seeing some of the behind the scenes things going on, because Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster at this stage is a Pandora's box. We don't know what's inside. We can't tell what's going on, and Movie World isn't really giving us any updates or information. And then next to this piece of track there also appeared to be some other pieces of a structure. Again, this is pure speculation. I'm no expert in this, but this to me looks like part of the elevator, possibly. Don't quote me on that. I'm a silly boy and I don't know what I'm talking about, but to my caveman brain this is the first thing that came to mind. Ooh, elevator. What do you think it could be? These pieces of track, these pieces of the structure? Let me know in the comments. Maybe someone out there's more qualified to talk about this than I am. I'm just a silly YouTuber. Please educate me. Teach me your ways. Train me in the way of the enthusiast. And while we're here, let's take a moment to talk about how things are going in the Wizard of OZ Precinct, which, as I mentioned, has been open for a few months now. We're well into 2025, and that little honeymoon phase is kind of worn off, and the Wizard of OZ Precinct is now just another part of the park. We haven't seen any changes or upgrades yet. Still no seating, still no shade, which is unfortunate. You still see people kind of just leaning around, sitting on flower pots, leaning against walls, sitting on the fountain area, and then of course inside the Emerald Palace there's still no seating, and people are kind of using this mainly as a spot to keep out of the sun. But we are getting into the cooler seasons now here in Queensland. Comparatively it's still very hot, but to us it's time to put on jackets and keep warm. The Emerald Palace has been really quiet as far as I've noticed. I haven't seen as many people sitting in there. I did notice this week that some of the projector screens just were either not working or were turned off, which is quite upsetting. It kind of ruined the effect that was there before, because the Wizard of Oz, after all, is talking about each character, and as he talks about the characters, they're supposed to appear on the various projection screens. So the fact that these are turned off or not working, it's not a great look. It feels a little bit run down already, unfortunately, as much as I would like to see it kept in better condition. Yeah, so no changes to the Wizard of Oz Precinct at this stage. which maybe we'll see some changes coming up towards the end of the year, I guess when the busier time of the year starts to pick up again. Do we think that's going to happen? It could do, I don't know. I mean, anything can happen, but I'm trying not to be cynical, but it's hard to pretend Movie World might do a sudden 180. Although there is some news that I'll get to at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. This kind of segues into the next area of this week's update, which is, of course, the DC Supervillains Unleashed area. But before we fully explore that, let me just point out the plethora of seating and benches in the DC Supervillains Unleashed area, which is dead as a doorknob. There's no one here, there's nothing going on. Why are there all these seats here? Why don't they just shift those over to the Wizard of Oz area? I'm sure people would use them there. Speaking of benches, I also noticed that it looks like some of the benches outside the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster building have been removed. I could be gaslighting myself. I do trick my brain into seeing things that are not updates at all sometimes. But if that is true, I wonder why. Okay, so DC Supervillains Unleashed. A few months ago now, Doomsday Destroyer disappeared mysteriously into thin air, and there haven't been any updates. We don't know what's going on. Are they selling it? Are they refurbishing it? Are they replacing it? I don't know. And what is happening with the DC Supervillains Unleashed area? Are they going to keep it the same theme, or are they going to retheme it to something else? Or are they going to knock it down entirely? Very unclear what's actually happening. One thing I have noticed each week that I visited, I mainly visit in the afternoon, check out the parade, and then stick around for like an hour or so. I've noticed a lot of staff moving boxes into or out of the Blaze Comics gift shop. So I don't know what they're doing. They've got some little plan going on. Are they taking out merchandise? Are they putting in new merchandise? Very difficult to tell, but I've already discussed various ideas of what they could do with the DC Supervillains Unleashed area in the past. So make sure you check out those videos. Yeah, so there's no updates this week, and as far as I'm aware, there haven't really been any updates in the past few weeks either. The last thing that I noticed was the large final print on the side of the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster show building. Half of it was gone, and it was unclear if Cyclone Alfred was to blame for that, or if they actually took it off themselves. No idea, but yeah, maybe someone in the comments has some insight into what's going on, so let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen. Alright, moving on to the back of the park. We also noticed that some work was going on here in Wild West Falls near the Studio Showcase building. It looks like they've taken down one of the old posters that was hanging up there. Not sure why. Maybe they're getting ready to retheme the Studio Showcase building. Speaking of which, what do you think is going to happen with the Studio Showcase building? It's a very large portion of the park, and I feel like the Studio Showcase was such a great use of space. It was really interesting to get a behind the scenes look into some of the props and costumes from the Batman films, and of course they also did some other displays with like Mad Max and Aquaman, but now I don't know how long it's been closed for. It's just sitting there. They haven't taken off the sign outside of it, so I guess they have plans to reopen it. It's very unclear. What would you like to see used for this space? It's probably a stretch, but I would love to see some kind of show. Back in the day, they had like a cowboy show or something here, which looked really cool. I don't remember experiencing it myself. I've watched videos of it. Thankfully, there's lots of people throughout the years who have recorded amazing footage of Movie World and its history, so if you want to check out stuff like that, just go on a little YouTube journey and you'll be amazed to discover some of the attractions that used to exist at Movie World. And if you'd like to hear my thoughts on some of this, let me know in the comments. Maybe I could make a little video about that, break down the history of Movie World. I know there's already videos that have done that, but I've never made something like that myself, so if you would like to see that, let me know. I'm very open to trying out new things. But that brings us to the end of the actual updates inside the park this week at Movie World. But there is one last piece of news, and I don't really want to get into it too much because I'm uninformed and it does involve a real person, so I don't want to say anything that could be wrong or, speculate about someone's life or anything, because that's none of my business. But it is part of the news here with the theme parks, and that is that Bikash Randhawa, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, the COO of Village Roadshow Theme Parks here in Gold Coast, has stepped down from his position. What could that mean? Is there going to be obviously someone else is going to step up and fill that role? I don't know what it means for the trajectory of the parks, if we'll see any immediate changes or if things will kind of continue along as they've been going on. I know that a private company is currently running things, so we're not really going to get any insight into that. But yeah, just an interesting update. Things could change. Yeah, I'm not in any position to make comments about the ex-COO's role in the company, because I don't know anything about it. Congratulations to him. Hopefully he has some time to enjoy some relaxation, because I'm sure running theme parks is a very time-consuming and exhaustive process, so good luck with your future endeavors. That brings us to the end of this Yum Yum report. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to leave a like, a friendly comment, or subscribe for more. And before we finish, I'd like to wrap up by giving a very special thank you to my channel members: Koala75, Lee Donald, SW Stevie1, Randall, Maloney's Coasters, Kerry Jackin, Medic Brick, Kai on the Internet, Movies Like Everyone, Celebrate Dennis Knoll 30th, and Audrey Allen, who's actually my 10th channel member. And as a special celebration for reaching 10 channel members, I would like to include a new perk in my channel membership, which is a specialized illustration drawn by me, which I'll put next to your name at the end of the video. So to all my channel members, let me know in the comments what you would like your special illustration to be, and I'll draw that and I'll include it in my next Yum Yum report. Thank you so much everyone for your very kind and generous support. I really do appreciate the fact that you enjoy my content enough to support me in this way, and it does really help me a lot because there are some costs associated with running my channel. I do try to make things high quality, and I do have to pay for various services to continue delivering high quality content. It does really help me a lot. It also helps me to save for future trips and better equipment, which will hopefully make my videos more interesting and more engaging for everyone in the audience. So thank you so much. And if you would like to become a channel member, you're more than welcome to do so. This will give you access to new videos early, as well as a special shout out and thanks at the end of my videos, as well as a nice little sticker next to your username to show that I love you. And and I love all of my viewers, by the way. This isn't I'm being silly, but yeah, you do get a nice sticker, so that's a bonus love from Mr. Yum Yum. And you also get some special emojis that you can use in the chat. And as I also mentioned, a new feature of the channel membership will be a custom illustration that I'll feature next to your username when I give you a shout out at the end of my videos. But if you're not in a position to support the channel and become a member, you can leave your support again by leaving a like, a friendly comment, or subscribing for more. Thank you so much everyone for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.